So my musical beginnings, I actually was so lucky. My grandmother on my mom's side played piano in church and also on the Via train between Toronto and Montreal in the 1960s. It was so amazing.
Mhm.
So I got to hang out with her when I was growing up. She died like when I was pretty young, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I got to hang out with her and like sit on the piano bench and watch her play, and that really inspired me. And I also have a great aunt who played a Telecaster in a country band in the 70s, and she taught me. She gave me my first guitar lesson when I was 12. So really amazing to have those women in my family setting an example for me, and not a lot of people have three female musicians in their family. So I feel super, super lucky to have
Wow.
had that. So musically, so interesting. But when I was a kid, my parents did not listen to music in our house. So strange. So I ended up like finding music everywhere that I could. My first experience with the Beatles was in grade seven, which was way too late for somebody who loves like rock music. Um, and now I guess like I'm super into artists. Like I really like Maddie Cunningham's playing. I love Jen Grant, who's a fellow Canadian. Um, let's see who else. Uh, I mean, I love like older music too, so I love like T-Rex, who's on my wall. Yeah, all kinds of amazing. Healing Power actually, it's my first, I would say, concept album because the concept for it has been so strong since the beginning. So 5 years ago, I found myself like literally wanting to quit music on top of a mountain in Austria. I was on like a 3 month tour, and everything in my life just seemed dire. Like it seemed like I had nothing going on. Like my home life had disintegrated because I was on the road all the time. And I hiked, and actually I drove up this like crazy dirt road up to the top of this mountain, and then kept walking until I got to the very top, where there was this beautiful pine tree, which is on the record cover. But I remember there was no other trees around. I was like, how has this tree been surviving? I felt like I wasn't surviving. And I sat up there for the entire day with this tree and just like felt the vibe. I was on a mountain range in Austria, so the view you can imagine is beautiful.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's about the journey that I've taken since then. So, like, now my life is so much different. I just got married. I have like a solid relationship. I have a beautiful home in the country. It's like everything has changed for me since then. And to be putting out this record now, almost 5 years to the day of when that happened, I just feel like so lucky. And I know a lot of us are on that same journey right now of like wondering, what are we doing? What's going on? And so my game plan with this record is to like, let everybody know that things can change, and we can all heal, and we can go through our own journeys and be supported by music and love and each other. I learned, I think that I'm strong, obviously, as a person. I
Mhm.
learned that it's not necessarily, it's not how we present to the world, but who we are at home that really matters sometimes. And I didn't have a good sense of that. I was like out playing shows and presenting this image of like cool, confident person, and then I would go home and be like, oh, what is my life? And I think part of that is just realizing that it's okay not to be okay, sometimes. Um, I also learned about recording. So I came back to my old producer that I had used on my 2017 record, New Mistakes, and we came together like a house on fire. It was like so amazing to come back together after 5 years of not working together. And I think we really made like a pop record, like a pop rock record, whatever you want to call it. But I'm really happy with it. And we drew outside the lines, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so Cross Border Lovers, I actually wrote. I played a show in Calgary, and there were these two couples that came up to the merch table, like one after the other,
Mhm.
and, said thanks for the show, but also told me that my music got them through the pandemic when they were living in different countries.
Oh.
So one of the couples was like Australian Canadian, the other one was American Canadian, and
Mhm.
I'm part of an American Canadian couple. So it was like it was pretty heavy to have them come up and tell me that my music was getting them through. And so I ended up writing this song, obviously Cross-Border Lovers, like just about the fear of being separated from the person that you love, like by a border, like literally not allowed to go across. So for the video, I kind of wanted to make it a little less heavy. So we made it into a tennis game between two friends, and it might get a little steamy at the end, but it was a super fun video to make. We just basically went to the mall and bought a bunch of tennis gear, and got my bass player is one of the people in the video, and then this guy Shay, who plays drums for us sometimes, and we filmed the video in Edmonton, which at a park that I'd never been to. Yeah, so I am enjoying the last, I think, 3 days that I have at home before leaving pretty much until the end of December. I'm playing a bunch of shows coming up with Ariel Posen in Canada and then also in the States. And then I'm going out to be British Columbia for, I don't know, 6 or 7 shows. So we're going out to British Columbia to play some shows in October, and then I head out to the States with Ariel Posen. We're doing Pioneer Town, which I'm really excited about. Happy and Harriet's is one of my favorite venues ever. And then we're playing LA, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, and just kind of up the West Coast. Oh. But that should be really great. And then we come back to Ontario for our sort of homecoming tour between December 1st and 16th, which I'm super stoked on. Yes, I'm so excited. We're not releasing it as a single, but it's called The Only One of Your Kind, and it's a song that I wrote about my best friends. I have always felt such support from my best friends, love them. They're there for me day in, day out. I'm there for them day in, day out. And that's something that I never have written about. I've always sent them my demos when I'm finished making demos for a new record, and they'll weigh in and they'll say, oh yeah, this is good, or oh, I like this lyric, or maybe try this, even though they're not musicians, and I love that. But I realized in the pandemic I had never written them a song. How ridiculous is that? So I wanted to write a song for your besties, and it's such an important relationship that we all are lucky to have, so I wrote each one of them a verse in that song. There's 3 verses. There's your crazy friend who dances on glass tables at parties, which is insane. There is your friend who got divorced, and there is also your friend who you could talk to in the car for hours and hours. I never practiced guitar. Yeah, I mean, it's just something, I think I did all my practicing when I was learning, right? I started when I was 12. But yeah, it's really hard. Even my band will tell you that we very rarely rehearse. I think we're gonna try for Healing Power to have a rehearsal before we go out on tour. I also played basketball. Obviously I'm 6 feet tall. But I only missed tryouts in university because I didn't know they were happening, and so I ended up just not playing university basketball. I could have been a women's basketball player, but here I am, a musician instead.